one thing to do. Go in, and go in fast.
Hello there, welcome back to the 80s Toy Museum. Finally taking a look at Ramen Toys' new Quicksilver figure, which is available at Big Bad Toy Store. Word of warning, this one ain't cheap. In fact, it is pretty pricey. BBTS has a sale right now, $10 off, and you got to make a decision. I always say bills come first, and these days food is getting really expensive too, as well as gas. So bills, food, and gas come first. But if you can make some sacrifices on some other toy purchases, maybe sell some stuff that you don't want anymore, that's the way that you can go about getting one of these, I think. Getting an entire line of them, like a dozen of them, or 24 different characters at this price isn't really financially responsible. But if you're looking for just one special figure, I think this is the one if you're a Silverhawks fan. I love Bluegrass and Flashback as well, but Quicksilver is the poster boy of Silverhawks. And Ramen's done a really incredible job of doing a modern, highly articulated, highly detailed rendition of him. This one, unlike the Super 7 cartoon version, this one is more of a live action movie version. This is what Quicksilver would probably look like if they were to make a live action movie. And he's got a ton of articulation, which doesn't really interfere with the sculpt. It's all hidden fairly nicely. There's some really nice artwork on the box and a beautiful packaging. Nice silver, shimmering, high print quality packaging. The artwork on the box is either derived from the original Silverhawks Quicksilver packaging art. Maybe it's just traced over or heavily inspired by it. So that's a really cool vintage piece of artwork that's carried over onto Ramen's new packaging. And just a word of warning when you're opening the box, there is this really thin strip of paper here which I ended up tearing because I'm kind of a butterfingers when I'm unpackaging stuff. So that little thin strip tore on me. If you want to keep your packaging completely intact, you want to be careful with that. Really nice backing, some of the Limbo Galaxy. And I've already gone through the packaging here, but the figure will have this protective sheet of plastic to guard from paint rub. So Ramen Toy is very careful about the packaging and making sure that things don't get damaged in transit. And a look at some of the extra accessories for Quicksilver so you can play around in adult fashion with him. Playing as an adult has more to do with changing poses and pose options, accessory options. And here's a 360 swag view of Quicksilver. And I just want to point out, if those legs look a little extended, wide spaces in the hips, that can actually be collapsed, and I'll show you that in just a minute, how to tighten that up a little bit. But look at the paint job, and it's not chrome like the original Silverhawks were, but it is a really nice consolation. I mean, it's like the Olympics. Gold is the nicest, but silver is a nice consolation, second place. And the paint job is very beautiful, especially if you throw tons of light on it like I've got right now. A bunch of spotlights and some big filming light boxes on it. So look at some of the detail in the feet. The talons are back. Really, really beautiful top to bottom. High quality silver paint job on him. Nice face sculpt too. Tallyhawk looks fantastic. And Tallyhawk doesn't plug into the forearm. He actually attaches by magnets. So they're not all that powerful, but they are well hidden in the forearm. Since they're silver, they kind of blend right in with the forearm. And it is strong enough to hold Tallyhawk upside down. Now, I've dropped Tallyhawk off of Quicksilver's forearm, just moving him around like from the shelf to this area right here to film the review. That's where you need to be careful. He's not meant for rough play when he's, or rough handling when he's on the forearm. It's merely to hold him in place. And here's a closer look at Tallyhawk. Nice paint job on him too. I like the duller paint used for the feathers on the front. The original toy of Tallyhawk didn't really look like a cyborg, and this one does, with the nice silver paint job and the feathers still there. His plastic isn't all that bendy in the feet, so you're not going to want to be too rough with them. And the wings do pop out. First time popping them out was a little concerning. I wasn't sure if I was going to break them or not, but after that it's very easy to pop them in and out. And here's the extended wings, which you can put in, I guess, the wrong way, this way, to give them kind of a downward flapping motion. That looks fine too, but they're mainly intended to go in this way, wings extended, and this looks a lot better with a nice wide wingspan and the very nice silver paint job. And just as a size comparison, he's actually a little smaller than Freedom from the G.I. Joe Classified Spirit figure. And I prefer the wings closed on Freedom, but I prefer the wings open on Tallyhawk. All depends on the particular character and sculpt. And here's a look at Tallyhawk on the form of Quicksilver, and a comparison with the original 1986 Tallyhawk. The new one is a lot better. The original Quicksilver figure is very nice, but Tallyhawk doesn't really look like he did on the show, and that's mainly because the sculpt has been sacrificed for the sake of the gimmick, which doesn't really work all that well. And Quicksilver controls Tallyhawk with the control bracelet communicator thing on his forearm, which is actually removable. If you pop his fist off, pop it back on if you don't want the gold communicator clashing with the silver paint job. But I think it looks cool. He always had it on the show, so it's just something I'm going to keep on there. And I mentioned the hips earlier. You can just push down like this and collapse them, so that looks a little bit more natural, but they can be extended to give you more range when moving the legs forward or back. Kind of gets in his own way in the torso here, and always got to try that Spartan kick with these figures. And not really possible with Quicksilver. His joints are fairly nice and steady. He's not that hard to stand, but he's a bit top heavy and his feet are just narrow. So there's just not much of a wide base to stand him on one leg. Not that that's really something that a lot of people are going to do. It's just a thing I do to test out the stability of the figure. The knee joints are pretty nice. Again, he kind of gets in his own way. And the feet have a lot of motion in them too, side to side pivot. And the toes bend forward a lot, almost like Spider-Man, Marvel Legends figures. And hey, if you do both of them, it kind of looks like Sheiky Baby. But one thing you gotta be when you're wearing Sheiky boots is humble. And Quicksilver doesn't look very humble, so I think the Iron Sheik is gonna have to break his back and make him humble.
Wrestling number 1, LJN number 1, Silverhawks.
And even though this Quicksilver figure now has a broken back and is very humble, he's pretty sturdy for standing, both straight up, as well as in dynamic poses too. This is always a really satisfying thing to take an old character who's never had a figure that was all that posable and be able to put him in action-ready stances like this. I think the main way a lot of people are going to display this is with the wings, but options are nice, and it's nice to know that you can do at ready fighting stances, kind of running forward stances, punching poses. And there's the talons on the back. There's a foot peg hole there if you want to get him a stand. That might help him with a Spartan kick. And taking a look at some of the other articulation, he's got a waist crunch, a little bit of one, not all that much, and a twist in the waist too. It's actually not as much as you see on Marvel Legends figures. And this waist twists in here too, but not very much, not like a Joe O-ring. Arm movement is pretty good. This little shoulder covering, shoulder shield thing gets in the way. It can twist back and forth to get out of your way, sort of, if you want to do a power extreme pose there. And you can actually pop it right off, which then gives you a full 360 for the arm. And I guess it's more accurate to the old figure if you take them off, but I think it looks cool. And it's not going to really impede the spread wings pose, so I'm going to leave it on there. Pretty good elbow joint. Again, less than you see on Marvel Legends or classified figures, but he's a more armored up figure. And here's a look at the head, 360. And he can look up and down too, which is really nice for a flying figure. More down than up. And one of the extra hands he comes with is a saluting hand, which you can sort of get it in there. Again, the armored up arm kind of stops it from going right up against there, but let me straighten this hand out a bit, give him a nice straight salute. That's a really nice extra they threw in there because Quicksilver is very formal, very military style. And you can have him salute with the wrong hand.
I'd like to take his face off.
And a really cool gimmick for the figure. You can take his face off and pop on the masked face. Oh, something's gone wrong here. And that's because the magnet has come out of the unmasked face. So I'll fix that up in a minute. But I'll just take that off for now so I can attach the masked face. And it's nice and strong. Stronger than Taliok on the forearm is. That's one of the downsides of magnets. They pull on each other, so I've seen that happen a lot, but it's easily fixed. And there's no shaking this masked face off. Okay, so the important thing to remember whenever fixing detached magnets like this is to not invert the polarities. So make sure it's on the right way, otherwise you'll repel the mask instead of attract it. And I like to use Gorilla Super Glue. I've been a big fan of this ever since I got the Defiant, and I use it frequently. Just a tiny little drop will do. Dries very quick, so I know the magnet's on there the right way because it's sitting on there right now. Take the face and just pop it on there carefully, squeeze it on there, and it doesn't take long at all for this glue to set and hold. And I'm going to do this without any cuts, without any editing, just to show you how incredibly easy a fix this is. It's literally just one quick little drop of glue, not even a minute, and fixed. It's really not a big deal. Next up is the wings, and he comes with two sets, one fully extended and one partially extended. So when I saw the partially extended ones, I thought, why? I didn't think I'd really care about these, and this is actually my first time trying them after playing around with this figure for a couple of weeks. There's an R and an L on each wing to let you know which of his arms they need to go in. So this one says R, it goes into his right arm. There's only one way it can go in and work properly. The two tabs plug into the arm and the single tab plugs into the waist. So that's one arm, and the arm just stays there. The wings are not extendable cloth material like the vintage figure was. And we pop in the second wing. Got to make sure that the arms are lined up and that they're straight enough. It's a nice sturdy material. It doesn't feel fragile. There's no creaking. Doesn't feel like it's going to break. And that's Quicksilver with partially extended wings. And I get it now that I actually see it. It kind of looks like the vintage figure when his arms are at his sides, because you can see the cloth wings, silvery cloth wings peeking out. And that's a cool look. Never really thought about it, but his arms aren't always in a T shape and fully extended wings on the show. Sometimes they look like this when he's just kind of cruising through space. So let's pop those out and put in the really nice ones, the fully extended wings. Same deal, L, which goes in this arm. And they attach just like the partially extended wings do. Nice sculpting on these as well. All sorts of little steel feather details on them. And a 360 with the wings fully extended. Just beautiful. I hope that by showing you a slow rotation and lighting it really well, that I can show you that even though it's not chrome, it's still very, very nice. And I would have preferred chrome, obviously, but it's a fantastic consolation. I was not expecting this to look this pretty in person, and I'm very impressed because Silverhawks are some of the prettiest vintage toys, and here's a side-by-side comparison with the original one. So it's nice that Ramen's actually made such an aesthetically pleasing figure to represent one of the most aesthetically pleasing 80s figures. And some size comparisons with the original vintage Quicksilver. He's quite a bit taller than him. And with some modern figures, here he is with a G.I. Joe classified figure, Spirit and Freedom. And he's quite a bit taller than Spirit. I think the idea behind Quicksilver was he's an augmented human, he's a cyborg, so kind of like RoboCop is taller than Alex Murphy. Quicksilver is taller than Jonathan Quick or Charlie Ironknife. And here he is with a tall Marvel legend. It's Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and he's a bit taller than Hugh as well. He's more to scale with modern wrestling figures, so here he is with the best there is, was, and ever will be. And I do believe in wearing your H-A-R-T on your sleeve. If it came down to a fight between the two, even though Quicksilver has wings of silver and nerves of steel, he doesn't have excellence of execution, so my money is on the guy from Alberta. And just for the fun of it, here he is with another beautiful vintage chrome toy. It's the Sky Shark, and I really do miss that glorious 80s chrome. And even though Ramen's figure isn't as reflective and gleaming as true chrome, it's still very shiny and catches the light very nicely. So if you're interested in picking one up for yourself, if you can afford it, there's a link in the video description that'll take you right to Big Bad Toy Store's page for the Ramen Quicksilver figure, which is an officially licensed Silverhawks figure. Hope this video helps in your decision to either get the figure or not, and if you aren't getting it or can't get it, then I hope that you can at least vicariously enjoy this figure through this video. Feel free to share the video, leave a silver thought in the comment spot, and to join the tribe, hit subscribe. Nerdmas stay.